Right Network. Mobilizing, countering the left, energizing the right. New Right Network, home of the New Right movement.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to New Right Network original series, SmythTV. Your host, Brian Smith, giving you all the breaking news of the day, wrapping it all up, making sense of it, showing you and explaining to you where the fake news is coming from and how we destroy it, giving you the real news, wrapping it all up, making sense of it. And again, today, if you're just getting off work or you're just tuning into the news, you might not know about this yet, but this is so big that you've probably heard. You know what's going on in Venezuela as it is right now, but today, breaking news, Venezuela, the recognized president of Venezuela, Juan Guaido, by America and most countries in South America all agree that Juan Guaido is the interim president and that Maduro regime must leave. Juan Guaido has now pushed for the final phase, hashtag Operation Freedom, or in Venezuela, Operación Libertad. So there's a little bit of an uprising. We'll get into all the details that we know right now. And there's going to be more breaking news throughout the night and through the rest of the week. And we'll stay posted on that. Deep state news. Jack Posobiec, thank you, sir, for tweeting out some information that about Ben Rhodes. We got a little bit of a clip from Obama's Ben Rhodes. And he's on the hot seat, a little uncomfortable about what's going on. Rod Rosenstein announced that he is going to be stepping down. I believe May 11th will be his final day. Sally Yates, former attorney general, and slamming Trump. It's sad. It really, truly is sad to see Barack Obama's regime coming out with long knives for Donald Trump. It's truly unfortunate, but we'll expose that as well. Antifa, part of the Democrat Party as well. We've got Antifa making a scene. Illegal immigration. I've got one little tidbit on that I know we keep touching about the illegal immigration, and it's just a hot button topic in the news, but I like to throw in little pieces here and there just to prove the point of why we need to build the wall, why we need to revisit our immigration policies, because they are truly broken. No other country in the world where you can step over their border, have a baby, and now that baby become a legal citizen, and you get to stay as well. Nowhere in the world does that happen, but here in America, it's got to stop. Joe Biden, man, he's a gaffe machine. He can't stop him. Can't help himself. Can't stop himself. So we got a little bit on Joe Biden getting crazy. Bernie Sanders on display. Oh, and by the way, before I get to Bernie Sanders, Joe Biden had a rally. Yeah, you didn't know, did you? That's okay. We'll get to why you didn't know he had a rally in Pennsylvania. Bernie Sanders on display. Oh, man. It just keeps getting worse and worse for Bernie Sanders. It looks like the Democrat Party's trying to destroy him as well. Beto O'Rourke now slips to 6th place, becoming irrelevant in the Democrat Party. Kamala Harris, where does she lay? And what does Newt Gingrich have to say about Kamala Harris? And some MAGA news. Have some MAGA news for you guys. Make America great again. Keep America great. And let's start off with some good MAGA news, and then we'll wrap it up and end with some good MAGA news as well. This is what Donald Trump's policies have been having an effect in here in America. This at Megavolt001, Dallas Fed unexpectedly releases the most gushing praise for Trump's economy yet. This by ZeroHedge.com. Zero Hedge writes, while the Dallas Fed Manufacturing Activity Index dipped to 2 from 6.9, missing expectations of a rebound to 10, there is something that he does point out, that this mini essay written by a small business respondent in the miscellaneous manufacturing space, which revealed what may be the most gushing praise for Trump's economy yet. And here is the piece written on when reviewing our financial performance over the last few years, the outlook for the company has significantly improved, in large part due to the change in taxes. During the Obama administration, our effective total tax pay rate was over 70%. And now under the Trump administration, our effective total tax paid rate is about 50%. This has allowed us to hire more people, increase compensation, pay larger bonuses, purchase more manufacturing equipment, and make more investment. For those people who say that lower taxes do not help small and growing businesses, they are completely mistaken. Small and fast-growing businesses need as much after-tax profits for expansion and investment as possible to continue to be successful. The fastest way to make people give up is seeing all their hard work and the results of their efforts redirected to wasteful and often counterproductive government spending and programs. I absolutely recommend ZeroHedge.com. I've been watching and reading their site for a few years now. Got some great information over there. And while that being said, my uncle, my co-host Kerry, who's MIA, but that's okay. He'll be back. His dad, my uncle, sent me a text last night. I was so excited about it that I decided I think this would be great to share to all our friends. And here's the text that he sent me last night. I am thanking Trump for filling up our soccer program so fast. It is the great economy. Parents have enough money to sign their kids up for soccer. I missed the typo error, but I said, well, hallelujah and God bless. Wow, that is awesome news. And usually the soccer signups, there's a lot of stragglers along the way, whether it be the actual money that is required to pay for your kids to play soccer, or if it's just procrastination, whatever it be. A lot of times we're well into the fall soccer season, and there's a lot of parents that still haven't paid their dues. It's frustrating, especially when you've got to come out of pocket. I helped coach a couple of years, and it's frustrating that the organization has to come out of pocket to front the money for those parents that do not pay. And now all of a sudden he's saying right now that all these parents are paying. He's got more signups this year. Normally about this time of year, there's about 30 signups, but he says it's well over 70. It's just amazing how many people are signing up. This could be one of the best years they've ever had for soccer signups. He's crediting Trump's tax cuts. And I'll tell you what, if you haven't filed your taxes, you're a little late. It's April 5th, way past April 15th. But like a lot of us, we've already filed our taxes. And boy, we were shocked at the tax returns coming back that the mainstream media will not report on. They don't want you to know that everybody else is experiencing a tax bonanza, if you will, getting their own money back for once. This has been a long time coming. We still pay every year, but this year it was just a phenomenal. I didn't make as much as we've made in past years. Changed jobs, started new jobs, have done some other things, but at the same time, we didn't have to pay as much as we normally pay. And with the child tax credits, just phenomenal. Thank you, Donald Trump. Appreciate it, sir, without a doubt. And juxtapose this economy versus the opposite, where the Democrats want to take us. The Democrats supported and vocally and on Twitter supported the Maduro regime in Venezuela that has absolutely destroyed that country within less than 18 years. It got started with Hugo Chavez in 99, and with Hugo Chavez's death, the bus driver, Maduro, took over and has now literally destroyed the country. Rolling blackouts, no water, no food. We saw people, videotape of people near like where a sewer edge would be below a freeway and the water runoff type sewage, where they're filling up plastic gallon jugs of this water runoff from the streets. And you can see it's got green and moss and stuff like that. That's where they're collecting water to drink. Yeah. You think that socialism has failed, now run into communism? I mean, it's just definitely an absolute nightmare that this regime has caused this country, destroying. I know people have said, well, Brian, in 99, they weren't rocketing to the top. No. I know. Granted, they were having some issues back in the 90s, but then their oil started to come online. They started to become very productive with their oil. Once the Hugo Chavez regime took over, and then Maduro taking the oil companies away from private entities and installing the military, literally firing engineers and replacing them with military personnel to make it completely inefficient, completely unproductive. Countries have walked away from Venezuela and purchasing oil from them. And their oil production and output is just plummeted to where now the regime needs to be boosted up by something else. See, that's the trick. The oil companies that were capitalist for whatever intents and purposes you think they were or were not, they were capitalist organizations, pumping out oil, making all kinds of money for the regime. And then once the regime ruined that, and you've got some people call it crony capitalism, but when the government gets involved, that now becomes socialism. It's no longer capitalism. It becomes socialism. And you see what it does every time. It destroys. Absolutely destroys. And now we've got the only people that are involved in Venezuela right now is Russia. Russia has maintained a foothold in Venezuela, attempting to prop them up, complaining. Actually, Russia has actually been complaining that they've been losing hundreds of millions of dollars in Venezuela. And for whatever reason, they're still trying to prop it up, political reasons. And now we've got Juan Guaido, who is recognized as the rightful president of Venezuela. Maduro will not let go. The military's been standing by Maduro. And now we've got today Juan Guaido saying that this is the final phase, hashtag Operation Freedom. We need to make a final push to take back our country. And this article written by Ray Jones of New Right Network, Freedom for Venezuela, a go from Guaido. Shots fired, internet crackdown, and Guaido calling for a military uprising. Could this be a chance for freedom for Venezuela? Follow the latest on the coup. Guaido is speaking to the camera. This was early in the morning. It was still dark out. Guaido is speaking to the camera in the video with the background of his soldiers behind him. He called the actions the final phase of the operation to free the country from the regime. The Maduro regime has been quick to denounce Guaido and the coup attempt. Information Minister George Rodriguez announced that the government was confronting and deactivating a small group of military traitors. So still in the throes, still fighting for their country, both sides claiming that they are actively saving the country when we rightfully know that Juan Guaido is recognized by South American countries as the rightful president, also recognized by our president, Donald Trump, as the rightful president. And this by Fox News this morning.
Tensions boiling over in the country of Venezuela between President Nicolas Maduro and opposition leader Juan Guaido.
Protesters firing tear gas as Guaido calls for a military uprising.
All right, how long is this going to take? Kevin Corke joins us live from the White House with how the U.S. could respond. Kevin, this is amping up.
And no question, it's amping up, and we're hearing from senior administration officials that things are moving on the ground in Venezuela. That from my colleague, John Roberts. Just moments ago, I also spoke with a senior administration official, and he said this is really about Russia and Iran doing all they can to maintain the status quo. They're backing Maduro. He also added that China has a hand in this. They really just want to be on the winning team. They don't care if it's Guaido or Maduro. But for now, it is Maduro still the incumbent in position. I can also tell you this. Marco Rubio said on Twitter that it's the Chinese right now who are helping to shut down social media in that country. Juan Guaido also taking to Twitter. He said the people of Venezuela began the end of usurpation. At this moment, I meet the main military units of our armed force, initiating the final phase of Operation Freedom. Rubio then tweeted this: after years of suffering, freedom is waiting for people of Venezuela. Do not let them take this opportunity from you. Now is the moment to take to the streets and support of your legitimate constitutional government. Do not allow this moment to slip away. It may not come again. We also saw, as I mentioned, Rubio talk about China's influence in shutting down social media there. It's a fluid circumstance, folks. We're watching it. We're in contact with our sources here at the White House. I promise as I get more, I'll pass it along. But for now, back to you.
As you can see right there, social media has become the go-to place for news and information, breaking news. Twitter is instant, literally instant news. Can't come any faster. YouTube is a little bit later and secondary. However, Fox News was quick to post up this from, it looks like Fox and Friends, just a minute 40 clip, and good information coming out, Fox News. And we have the Vice President of the United States, Mike Pence, to @JGuaido, the National Assembly, and all the freedom-loving people of Venezuela who are taking to the streets today in #Operación Libertad. Estamos con ustedes. We are with you. America will stand with you until freedom and democracy are restored. Vayan con Dios. #Free Venezuela. The translation on Vayan con Dios is go with God. I don't know how to take that one. Usually that means something else, but maybe I misunderstood. But may God go with you. Absolutely. May God go with you and support the folks, freedom-loving people of Venezuela. We absolutely support that as well, because socialism and communism kills every time. And throw Islam into that as well. In the last 1,500 years, Islam has destroyed everything and enslaved its people and continues to do that today. Communism, everywhere it's been implemented, has destroyed and ruined and enslaved its people as it is today. Socialism leads to communism, as we see, and the Democrat Party is on full display this 2020 election as in embracing socialism 100%. That's why we're going to report on this, and that's why we will expose them. And that's exactly why the Democrat Party told Fox News that, nope, we're not going to let you cover the debates. Sorry. Well, that's your own fault, but we'll cover them here. And social media putting up the debates up online anyways, exposing the lunacy of the left. So we don't necessarily need Fox News to do that. And I posted this up, accidental drive-by journalism. This by ABC News on Venezuela calls out Maduro. Accidental journalism? ? #Tuesday Thoughts. #Operation Libertad in Venezuela.
Security forces have to then take a further action to really clamp down, or will they begin to defect? I mean, that's sort of been the bargain all along for Juan Guaido and for the U.S., is that as this goes on, as the suffering that Tom talked about continues within Venezuela, do the security forces, do the military officials begin to side with Guaido? Because they have, families of their own who are suffering just as much through this economic crisis, and can begin to blame Maduro for it. As Tom said, Maduro likes to blame these outside forces like U.S. sanctions, but it really is his gross mismanagement of the economy. Everything from not maintaining power lines, which has caused blackouts throughout the country, to the corruption at the state-owned oil company that has really robbed the country of so much of its once powerful economic might, and brought the suffering and the starvation to the Venezuelan people.
I think a big question is what's going to happen to Juan Guaido, and if he is arrested, if something worse happens to him, what does the U.S. government do? Because there's been so much tough talk. There has been so much ratcheting up of the rhetoric on the U.S. side that they stand by Guaido, that everything is on the table from the president. If something does happen to Guaido, what do they do? Because without the use of military force, they already have pretty intense sanctions on Venezuela right now. I'm not sure what else they can do. All of the countries in that region, with the exception of maybe Bolivia and Nicaragua and Cuba, and maybe a couple of others, but the vast majority in South America, Central America, and the Caribbean stand with Guaido and the United States, and they acknowledge him as the president. But countries have said they don't want war. Colombia, they don't want war. They don't want war on their borders. So it's unclear what would happen. if something happens to Guaido, and that's what I'm going to be watching. But to Guaido's credit, it appears he is speaking in Caracas without a bulletproof vest on. We don't know for sure, but that's the way it looks, and that is an incredibly brave move because of the tension right now, knowing that maybe the military may be after him. But maybe Maduro also understands that if he does anything to Guaido, and he hasn't up to this point, that could be sort of a Rubicon.
As he was saying, this could be a Rubicon for Guaido or for Maduro. If he does attempt to assassinate Guaido, that would be very, very, very bad. If it does happen, I'm going to say it happens by accident. I don't think Maduro is that stupid to kill him. There was also another individual that Guaido had gotten out of prison. He was arrested and jailed and put on house arrest for speaking out against the Maduro regime. And so now we have he's now free. He's standing there with Guaido and the military that Guaido had during the talk, which was awesome. That's exciting to be able to tell the people we are pro free speech. We are here to free the people. Couldn't ask for anything more. And I tweeted this out a little too late, but our friend at Trump 45, MAGA Michelle, she beat me to the punch, but so I put up her tweet. It says, horrifying. Maduro's National Guard is literally running over unarmed people with armored vehicles. The government seized all of the guns from their citizens long, long ago. That's one thing they don't talk about. Hugo Chavez took away their Second Amendment right. This is exactly why we have 2A, and we will never allow liberals to take our guns. Video, for those of you audio only, the video is showing people throwing what may be rocks or bottles or things at the armored vehicles. Armored vehicle jumps the median, running over protesters, literally looking for protesters, driving around, running over the median, looking to run over protesters. Now, I'm not saying that Maduro ordered these individuals to run them over, but I don't know. We'll have to see how it plays out. It might be an individual situation. Well, it is escalating. There is tear gas being fired. There's a lot of violence in Venezuela. So we'll see how this plays out. Many prayers and Venezuela right now as they're going through this time of struggle to break free from the grips of a dictatorship that started out as socialism. So never forget. And we've got the deep state on display, still attempting to do its damage to our country, continuing the damage. And indictments are coming. Indictments are absolutely coming. These people, these deep staters that continue to speak out on social media, continue to speak to the media, they are digging themselves a grave. They're absolutely burying themselves one by one. And we are reporting it here. We're reporting it here. And this one by Sally, there it is, Sally Yates. Sally Yates. This is Sally Yates speaking to NBC News. This was posted by thehill.com.
Thanks first to the Russian issue, which you just raised. If not for the Office of Legal Counsel prohibition against indicting a president, should there have been further steps? Do you think that there, in fact, on obstruction, would have been an indictment?
Well, I've been a prosecutor for nearly 30 years, and I can tell you I've personally prosecuted obstruction cases on far, far less evidence than this. And yes, I believe if he were not the president of the United States, he would likely be indicted on obstruction.
So if he were...
This is the same Sally Yates that refused to enforce Donald Trump's travel ban, and subsequently she was fired. This is the same Sally Yates that was put into office by Barack Hussein Obama. Same Sally Yates that Deep State and same Hill.com. They also posted this video as well, just to kind of juxtapose, see the two different sides. Sally Yates, absolutely, he would have been indicted. Absolutely, Trump would be indicted. And again, just to jog everybody's memory, this is Bill Barr.
After nearly 2 years of investigation, thousands of subpoenas, hundreds of warrants, and witness interviews, the special counsel confirmed that the Russian government sponsored efforts to illegally interfere with the 2016 presidential election, but did not find that the Trump campaign or other Americans colluded in those efforts.
So she's prosecuted many cases for obstruction on much less evidence than this. Yet Attorney General Bill Barr, Deputy Attorney Rod Rosenstein, which I have no love for, and I believe that he's pretty dirty, but he's played his cards very well to slip out, slimy little slivery snake that he is. But Attorney General Barr said, "Nah, man, sorry, there's no there." And this at the beat with Ari. I don't know who this individual is. I'm not saying follow him. The beat with at Ari member is he's MSNBC 6 p.m. show. Okay. Show covering the news. So I don't follow the guy, but he posted this video up and I thought it was amazing how the liberal media is just having a field day, just going insane with still they're trying to turn the curve on the narrative. They're trying to turn the curve on the narrative. Don't look at all the criminal acts that we committed and all the things that we did that were illegal. Don't look at that. Look at this stuff. Look at what's going on over here. Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein is certainly speaking the language of the president in this letter. This is when Rod Rosenstein has just now resignation letter. This makes it clear that he resigns as someone who was firmly in the president's camp.
Deputy Attorney General Rosenstein is certainly speaking the president's language in this letter, his closeout letter with the administration. Often, though, federal officials, when they're resigning, are provided with some sort of a template or a form, and the expectation is that they'll follow along with that. We don't know if that's the case here, and certainly Rod Rosenstein could have said whatever he wanted to say in his resignation letter. This makes it pretty clear that he resigns as someone who was firmly in the president's camp during his service.
That was Joyce White Vance. My thoughts on Rosenstein being in Trump's camp. I think Rosenstein's doing everything he possibly can to stay out of prison and stay out of being investigated. That's my personal opinion on that. And so let's go with Rod Rosenstein agreed that Comey should be fired. Rod Rosenstein, this at Emerald Robinson, she's the chief White House correspondent for OANN, One America News Network. And she tweets out, Rod Rosenstein agreed that Comey should be fired, then signed bad FISA warrants. He was the one that renewed the final FISA warrant on Trump to spy on him. Then set up a probe of Trump or Russia and hired Comey's best friend to run it. That would be Mueller. Then ignored Strzok and Page's text, FBI leaks, and perjury traps. Did he wear a wire? It's like the DOJ version of a one-man Hamlet. Yes, the same Rod Rosenstein that was said to have been invoking the 25th Amendment and wearing a wire to remove Trump from office. Yes, he did. He went around McCabe, he got Comey fired. Then he went around McCabe and got McCabe fired. And then he was tapped to run the special counsel, got the special counsel set up. Then he was tapped to run it because he was the only one left. Jeff Sessions had already recused himself. And so Rod Rosenstein, the dirty dog that he is, slithers away unscathed. We'll see how that goes. I mean, as of now, it looks like he's going to resign, and that's going to be the end of it. So I jumped ahead. Sorry about that, folks. I jumped ahead. Back to Sally Yates. I wanted to play this real quick to kind of combat what she was saying about absolute obstruction that Donald Trump committed obstruction. And this by the former Attorney General, Michael McCaskey. He has a sit down with Cuomo and absolutely destroys Cuomo. This at John and himself, former Attorney General Michael McCaskey, continually corrects Chris Cuomo during their discussion on the Mueller report and the collusion, delusion, and obstruction.
Consider this. He's being investigated for a crime that didn't happen. and that he certainly didn't commit.
Who says it didn't happen? Russian interference happened.
Russian interference happened, for sure, but cooperation and conspiracy between the Trump campaign and the Russians did not happen. And that was
to a criminal level, no, says Mr. Mueller.
To any level.
I don't know about any level, but to criminal level.
I do.
I'll give you.
Okay. And there's an investigation going on, not for a month or 6 months, but for 2 years, close to 2 years. And his administration is laboring under the shadow of that investigation. And people alleging that it happened, there are going to be indictments and so on and so forth.
But this is a special counsel, and it was put together by Rosenstein because he wanted it separate from the DOJ because of what he saw as potential.
It's not separate from the DOJ.
I know.
It's within the DOJ.
But as a mechanism, separate. I know it's under the DOJ. I understand how the guidelines are written. I understand why they were written because we didn't like what the independent counsel was.
It's not just the guidelines. We have 3 branches of government.
I understand.
This is within the executive.
I understand.
We don't sprout a new branch of government.
But what your friend did is not just by the book. He took it on himself to decide this rule. He didn't have to do that.
Of course he had to do it.
Why?
Who was going to decide whether to indict or not?
Congress. As a political matter. Leave it to them.
They decide whether to impeach or not.
And Mike,
they don't decide.
You're skipping the big point, which you taught me about very
That
early
is the
on.
big point.
They can't indict him. That is the opinion from the OLC. So there is nothing to decide on that level. It is purely political. It always
Congress
would be.
doesn't indict. Congress can
I know.
impeach.
I'm using it as just a metaphor here.
But you're misleading a lot of people.
No, because we know
You have
the
a big
OLC.
audience.
We know the OLC says
It's getting smaller by the minute
you
now.
can and you can't indict.
This clip put together and posted online by MRC Newsbusters. The dishonest, lying Cuomo will not have Michael back on his show anytime soon, calling for Congress to indict. Congress doesn't indict. Calling for someone else to do something. There is no there. The ruling is over. It is done. Mueller on purpose did not close the case out, on purpose left it for Attorney General Barr, forced him to close it out because you got to wrap it up. So he closed it out, and now it creates this air of shadow that's still there. And all the while, criminal activity had happened. The Obama administration had spied illegally on the Trump campaign and the Trump administration after the win. After the win in 2016 election, continued to spy on Donald Trump. This was beyond illegal. This is beyond criminal. This is some people are calling it treason, but we weren't at war. This was absolutely seditious acts that things need to be put in place so that this never, ever happens again. And our good buddy Jack Posobiec tweeting out about Ben Rhodes. Watch Ben Rhodes struggle to keep his story together on Obama being involved in the Trump investigation and the Steele dossier. Can't believe he even sat down for this interview.
No. Look, I can't be clear enough about this. We didn't even know that there was an FBI investigation of Trump. I didn't. President Obama didn't. We actually abided by the firewalls between. If there were any investigations that took place, those decisions were made in the Justice Department, in the FBI, not in the White House. They will find nothing that suggests that there was any political White House involvement in any of that. Literally, I learned about the FBI investigation in Trump as a private citizen in the freaking Washington Post. This, you have to understand that we actually abided by the long-standing practice of the White House not getting involved in that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm. The Republicans on the Hill seem to be focusing on the dossier. And
we had nothing to do with that.
Yeah. So you never had seen it when you were in the White House?
I saw it. I heard about it at the very end when, in January of 2017. We weren't involved in commissioning the dossier.
He didn't say commission.
We learned about it when it was in the report that was appended to the report that went to Congress at the end of the administration.
He just said he learned about it from the Washington Post and now from Congress.
Likely circulating in the government through the White House, and that they're going to look into that specifically. the dossier circulating?
I have been investigated by these committees, and guess I'm telling you, they didn't find it. Like we had nothing to do with the dossier. I mean, like literally, like nothing to do with this dossier.
When you had seen it, did you believe anything that was in it, or and do you think the FBI should have taken it seriously?
Look, I'm not an investigator. I haven't even read this whole dossier. Like you guys are all fixated on this. Like, have fun, have your witch hunt. Like, we did not initiate this. Like, we did not.
Unbelievable. Just like Jack Posobiec said, I'm shocked. I cannot believe he sat down for this interview. First, he said that he learned about it in his own words right there, straight said, nothing taken out of context. He said he learned about it from the freaking Washington Post. And then within another couple of sentences, he said, I didn't learn about it until it was in the report, until Congress talked about it. Fumbling over words, very, very nuanced, extremely defensive, using language that would only suggest that. I mean, I got kids. I got 3 kids under the age of 11. I know a liar when I see a liar. And this is very uncomfortable. If this is if one of my kids was talking to me like this and acting like this, oh my goodness, I'd put the spotlight on them. Anyways, leave that be it as what it is. I think that Ben Rhodes needs to go and be investigated by Attorney General Barr and see how that one works out. Not well. I promise you it's not going to work out well. And something else that's not going to work out very well is the Democrat Party, their ideologies on display for 2020 as the media running with collusion, delusion, running with possible obstruction of justice. That's what the media throwing shade for the Democrat Party that has committed such nefarious offenses beyond anything that we've seen in our country in the past. The Democrat 2020 on full display, embracing of Islam. And you saw the New York Times, that article yesterday or over the weekend, but we showed it yesterday. Donald Trump looking like an orange colored round ball Jew with Benjamin Netanyahu as a dog and leading Trump by the leash. Very anti-Semitic. Apologize, but the fact is you guys let that out. New York Slimes, you guys did that. And I hope you suffer greatly with your viewership. I hope you really feel the full brunt of the American people. And so now Dems are now embracing Islam. Nancy Pelosi embracing it, actually electing Islamic practicing Muslims to office in Congress. We've talked about them, Rashida Tlaib and Ilhan Omar, and AOC defending her friends as well. There's also another gentleman that's a practicing Muslim that was elected to Congress under the Democrat platform. And why am I complaining about Muslims and Islam? It should not be in America because it is contrary to everything we believe in. And again, I said over the past 1,400, 1,500 years, everywhere Islam has been implemented, and Sharia law shortly shows up, it's destroyed. The people are kept in a slave state, poor in a slave state. Look at Turkey, look at Egypt, look at Iran, look at all these countries. And we could go back to the 1970s in Iran, where women were dressed in westernized clothing, dresses and shirts, short sleeve shirts and shorts and tank tops and flip flops. And now, no, you got to wear the burqa, the full cover, completely destroying the self-esteem of any woman and forcing them to be in a slave state. Men are also in a slave state because if you do not toe the line, you will be beaten or beheaded. There was some news that came out that a 16-year-old was imprisoned in Iran because apparently he had put something online or tweeted something out online. He was arrested and then threatened that his family would be murdered if he didn't confess. Finally, he confessed to it, and after 3 years, he has now been beheaded at 19 years old. International outcry. The UN Human Rights Council has spoken up about this and said that this was wrong, but so be it. That's Islam on display. And this is news that's come out that I just found out today when doing show prep. Update on the Sri Lanka bombing. This at KAMVTV. The pregnant wife of the Sri Lankan suicide bomber who killed over 300 Christians. It's been reported at 356 mostly Christian, so I'll just kind of correct that a little bit, detonated a suicide vest when police raided the family's Colombo home, killing herself, her children, and the police officers. I'm not sure if she says children or children's, but obviously the pregnant woman bearing a child, she killed the unborn child as well. Yes, the pregnant wife of the Sri Lankan suicide bomber had a vest strapped on her when the police arrived at her house. She detonated the vest, killing herself and everybody around. Update to the story. This is how Islam works. This is what they do. Islam is a violent cult, not a religion, a violent cult. And from someone over in the UK, we must absolutely heed Katie Hopkins' advice. This tweeted out by @KJune65. Please take 2 minutes and listen to Katie Hopkins warning America. It's been circulated around, so it's kind of an old clip, but it is very, very relevant. And I want you to re-listen to the words of Katie Hopkins warning us from the UK.
America needs to wake up to Ilhan Omar. She's changing right before your eyes. And there are 3 simple steps to the Islamification of politics. We've already lived it here in the UK. Number 1, you have a voting block of people that are densely packed together, the same communities, Somali communities, Bangladeshi communities, 4 families living where one family used to live. And now you have them voting according to their religion, facilitated by the mosque. Funding can flow in. You have the Muslim Housing Association. We have a Muslim Police Association. We have events, especially for the Muslim community of London. We have an Eid celebration in the middle of London in Trafalgar Square, paid for by the Muslim Mayor of London to keep his voting bloc happy. And once you have people voting according to their religion, funded by funding streams coming in from God knows where, you'll see the changes start to happen. You're seeing them now. For us, it means that we no longer have bikinis on our underground because it would be offensive to some of the locals. It means that certain individuals can no longer come to our country because we don't want to upset local communities. And it means that Asia Bibi, for example, a Christian woman, was not given a place to stay here in the UK because we don't want to upset local communities. Once you have Islam in political power, your culture starts to change rapidly. You started this by allowing head coverings to be worn inside your positions of power. You've seen Ilhan Omar change from having this kind of modern looking, exotic looking, bright orange, how very fabulous, into now this darker, blacker head covering. Now we're coming out and speaking out against Israel. Now we're saying that the president should be impeached. Now we're standing by the socialist Maduro in Venezuela. America needs to wake up to Ilhan Omar.
As this is relevant today, again, our political elected officials siding with Maduro regime and the likes because that is their ideology. Again, on display, communism and Islam, one and the same. One and the same. And as we round this up, I got to get going. We're almost out of time, folks. Okay, this is by our good friend at DG Purser. Give me the fight, give me the hardship, give me the duty, give me the honor to fight to the death to keep the freedoms for which our brave men died and wise men crafted into the Constitution of the United States. May we live free men under God forever. Posted 2 pictures, one by Benjamin Franklin. He who would trade liberty for some temporary security deserves neither liberty or security and will lose both. And this, a picture from the UK. All you can see is butts in the air. Apparently, a whole bunch of Muslims are in the middle of the street praying, blocking the street and blocking our way of life based on their cult. We've got to stop this. We cannot allow this to happen. We're seeing it on full display in the UK. And that's the thing. The UK, they've got the internet and they're connected to us for the most part, versus us getting information out of the Middle East and Islamic cultures, whether it be Iran or Iraq or Turkey. But we can get information directly out of the UK. This posted up by @Buzzman888. Pakistani prayers in the streets. Wait, it's actually Britain. Pay attention, America. And you can see, I'll turn it up just a little bit. You can see hundreds and hundreds of Pakistanis in the middle of the square with their call to prayer. They do this 5 times a day. You want to talk about disturbing the peace? Freedom to assemble, freedom to speech. Yes, that's true. You have that here in America, but there's also something called disturbing the peace. This is not a good thing. This is actually a bad thing. And this, Osama Dakdow, the generous Quran.
In Egypt, his first language is Arabic. Mr. Dakdow's English translation of the Quran provides revealing insights on the teachings of Islam and what that means for America. He travels throughout the United States and Canada, equipping Christians to be effective witnesses of Jesus Christ to their Muslim neighbors. His website is thestraightway.org.
And good evening. Let's try it again. Good evening. Good, that's better. Why the violence? Why the violence? I love how the liberal media in America give us reasons for violence. As they tell us, well, reasons given to explain Muslim violence self-radicalized. Self-what? Radicalized. Why is the media in America will tell us the reason we see violence all over the Muslim world? Because these people made themselves radical. Because this radicalization which we see in the world today has nothing to do with Islam. Really? Are we really that stupid? Let me give you these 4 reasons the media will give us. The first reason they said, these people are uneducated. These doctors who have doctorate degrees, not just in Islam, even in medical and in science and in history, are uneducated. And we Americans are the educated one. I think we're just simply ignorant people. The problem, yes, is about education. And the problem is in the American people education, not the great Muslim scholars. Because I guarantee you, many of these names, I'm going to mention any of these names, like Osama bin Laden, a great engineer, or any of these. Well, I'm not going to mention any names. I want to say I'm going to mention names. I'm going to mention some names. These people can educate our senators and our congressmen and our governors and even our presidents. Because we're literally a foolish country. My Bible said what? My people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. And that is a problem we have in America. So this has nothing to do with being educated or not. And the proof is there are plenty of people in the world today who know nothing about reading or writings. They're non-Muslims. And they do not practice the violence of Islam. The second reason they will tell us because these people are poor. Poor. Bin Laden, we freezed $30 million of his money in America alone. Muhammad Atta, my Egyptian friend, who is one of the top hijackers of September 11, he got $20,000 cash in the trunk of his car. And they're all rich. And then that's why you see our politicians in America will tell you, we need to educate these people, open them schools, where they're going to teach the Quran in these schools, or give them money. John Kerry, bless his soul, Lord Jesus. Third reason, they'll tell you these people are mentally ill. Mentally ill. We got some best lawyer in America to defend these criminals who commit the crime and the violence of Islam. And these lawyers will use that technique to set them free. To the point, in one case, the lawyer stood up before the judge and the jury, tried to convince him that Muslim Muhammadan is mentally ill. That Muhammad got so mad. He hit his hand on the table 3 times. I am not crazy. I'm a true Muslim believer. I practice what Allah taught me in the Quran and what Muhammad commanded me in the Hadith. And he was so, passionate about what he believed. And the Lord looked at him and looked at the jury and looked at the judge and said, Your Honor, see, I'm telling you, the man is crazy.
No longer are we to call them radical Islamist, radical jihadist. They are Muslim believers. Those who commit these acts are believers of Islam. They're Muslims and they're believers of the Quran and Allah and carrying out it word for word. Usama Dakdow, absolutely, you must see some of his teachings and how his original language was Arabic and he can translate the Quran prophetically. And there's another statement that he makes that 87% of those who claim to be Muslim have never read the Quran. That's a problem. And then he goes about it as saying that that as Christians, we need to talk to Muslims and just let them know about Christ. My church as well said the same thing. There's a Muslim believer out there somewhere looking for Christ, wanting to get out of the slavery that they're in, or maybe not even knowing. But once their eyes have been opened to the fact that they're enslaved and that there's another way, there's a free way to go, that they'll embrace that. This at Super Patriotone, Ilhan Omar, what do you think now? China declared Islam a contagious disease and quarantined 1 million Muslims. In 2015, China government killed more than 60,000 Chinese Muslims for speaking against the Chinese government. U.S. should take serious action 100%. I do not advocate whatsoever on killing Muslims that are peaceful Muslims in America. I advocate for talking to them and telling them of the good news of Jesus Christ. That is the way that we win them over. And Laura Loomer, banned on Twitter and other media outlets, no longer allowed to have to get an Uber. Banned from Uber, banned from Twitter and Facebook and all kinds of stuff. But she's still on Instagram. She posted this. University of Massachusetts, Amherst, is essentially holding a Jew bash event on their campus May 4th. The speakers include supporters of terrorism, Holocaust deniers, and Hitler admirers. Again, this is being hosted and supported by University of Massachusetts, Amherst, a liberal college in Massachusetts. If Jewish people don't want another Holocaust in which Hitler reincarnates himself as a woman named Linda or Ilhan, then Jews need to stop voting for Democrats. Now, she didn't say this, but I'm saying this. Hashtag Jexodus. Linda Say Sauer, she's speaking, refused to disassociate herself from Louis Farrakhan, who said Hitler was a very great man. Mark Lamont Hill called for the complete destruction of the Jewish state in Israel. Robert Waters flew a pig balloon featuring the Jewish Star of David at a concert. David Zurin continuously attacks Jewish athletes for visiting Israel. And Vijay conspired that Hitler and Zionists planned the Holocaust together. We've got to keep speaking out about this and keep showing this on display and letting everyone know what the real deal is. And I'm out of time. I didn't get to go through the Joe Biden stuff and the Bernie Sanders, but you got to see it. Joe Biden on full display. His rally, there was literally nobody there, held in an elementary school with a few hundred people. Rose Dixon TX from Texas, Pittsburgh rally. Any question who wins 2020? And it was a small little event. How sad. At Charlie Kirk 11, Joe Biden held his first campaign rally in Pittsburgh. Such a joke. And then the GOP tweeted out about Press Secretary Sarah Huckabee Sanders. She's saying there's a lot of enthusiasm out there, and Donald Trump brought her up on stage during the rally. So exciting that everybody was chanting, Sarah, Sarah, Sarah. So nice, so nice. And then Bernie Sanders and his people get out of prison to vote or vote that are in prison. Just complete absurdity. And so our good friend at SERREMMY must follow her. There was a man on the street beat for InfoWars, and it was just a complete destruction of these people on the street. They were asking about, should rapists and terrorists be able to vote from prison?
Do you guys think that convicted rapists and terrorists should be able to vote from? Do you guys think that convicted rapists and terrorists should be able to vote from prison?
Yes.
Would you let your daughter be babysat by a convicted rapist? I'm very concerned that you have to think about that.
Absolutely. Why would the guy have to think about whether his daughter should be babysat by a convicted rapist? This is crazy. These people have been gaslighted so much that they are willing to allow their daughters to be babysat by a rapist. This is what happened when the Democrat Party gaslights an entire generation of baby boomers. And I'm not saying all of y'all. There's a whole section of baby boomers that vote in lock stock with the Democrats, with the Bernie Sanders. They're still reliving their tree hugging years. And in full display, rapist babysitting your daughter, convicted rapist babysitting your daughter. Now, I will make the argument that if you have been convicted, you go to jail, you serve your time, you come out of jail, that maybe we should set up a panel that you apply to receiving your voter status back, something of that nature, to get your ability to vote back, depending on the circumstances, and something else too. I think that just because you went to prison for whatever reasons, if they were violent criminal acts where you used a gun to rob a bank or something of that nature or kill somebody, I don't think you should ever be allowed to have your Second Amendment rights back to be allowed to have a gun. But if it is a nonviolent offense, I absolutely agree that you should be allowed to have your Second Amendment fully restored once serving your time in prison and completing that. But with that being said, I know that a lot of people talking about this, and we talked about it in our private message group, and I know my cousin spoke up about this, but with stipulations, I believe with stipulations that yes, you should get your rights back to vote, depending review, and certainly your Second Amendment rights back as well. And I'll end. I told you I was going to end on good news. We've got to end on this one. Our good friend El Guapo 64. Can someone tell Breadline Bernie that Trump is already doing that? Breadline Bernie tweeted out, "Today I'm calling on Donald Trump and all presidential candidates to support a trade policy that protects jobs and guarantees living wages for American workers. We need a president who will actually fight for American workers and stand up to corporations who outsource jobs." We're seeing Donald Trump full display. Guys, this is the greatest time that we've ever been alive. Our economy is rip-roaring like we've never seen before. I told you about that anecdotal text that my uncle sent me thanking Trump because the soccer rosters are almost triple what they've been in the past, and parents are paying in advance for their soccer fees, whereas in the past, they would be in the rears usually through the season. And soccer season doesn't start until the fall. We still got a ways to go for it even to start. Great information coming out from businesses and the tax cuts. Just roaring economy. Thank you, Donald Trump, for the decisions and policies in place. With that being said, folks, share, hit the crush, hit the share, hit the like, hit the subscribe, wherever you're at. Live every weekday, Monday through Friday, 7 to 8 p.m. Eastern. And right after our show, stay tuned to Wayne Dupree. The Wayne Dupree Show comes on right after Smith TV on New Right Network, newrightnetwork.com. Jump over there and check out all the great writers, the videos, the meme wars. Everything is there. It's the big tent for the MAGA movement turning into America First movement, and then we'll subsequently follow the Keep America Great movement again. Thank you so much. I'll see you guys tomorrow for Wednesday Wisdom. Peace out.
You've been listening to New Right Network, mobilizing, countering, energizing. Online at newrightnetwork.com.